Hi, welcome to Senior Savvy. I'm Jane Wells, your host for today's show. Senior Savvy is brought to you by the Oshkosh Senior Center, where it's our mission to enrich the quality of life for adults ages 50 and older. A little bit later in today's show, we are again going to feature tips from Tony, so some little physical and health tips that he will be sharing with us. And then we're also going to do upcoming events at the Oshkosh Senior Center. So on today's show, we're going to talk about again, things happen in life that we don't always plan for or that we don't always see coming up, but we need to kind of be prepared with information. And so my guest today is Lisa Magnuson from Oasis Senior Advisors, and she's going to talk about a service that she provides that will help families who are in need. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jane. I really appreciate you having me today.
Great. So tell us real briefly, because we're going to go in depth a little bit later, but tell us real briefly about the service that you offer.
What Oasis Senior Advisors does for seniors and their families, it can be either one looking for help, is to find assistance in finding senior living communities, and that could be an assisted living or independent living, and just make it a better transition for them, and it is a free service.
Okay, well, and we'll come back to all of that later, but first, let's talk about your own little journey, because you, of course, have been on one, and that's kind of how this all unfolded for you life-wise. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what kind of brought you to where you are now.
Well, I'm Lisa Magnuson. I grew up in Oshkosh, so I know the culture, and I've been living in Appleton for the last 17 years. So the Fox Valley has been my life. So I'm very passionate about the people here. And so what kind of brought me to you today was a lot of series of events. I am in my mid-50s, and so a lot of people my age are having a lot of choices in their lives. Either they lost their job, they're retired, what do I do now? And then you have your other M's, so what do I do with my family? So that kind of brought me here today. 7 years ago, I was had to help my family look for assisted living. My mother had Alzheimer's, and I had nowhere to go. I was working 12, 14 hours, which a lot of us do. You're taking care of your family, your house, your responsibilities, and also where do I go? And it was very stressful. I actually got shingles doing it, so I understand what families may be going through.
Sure.
And just was given a list of names from their long-term insurance, or here's some assisted living. So I had to take off work, make appointments, find out tours, and figure out what economically they could afford and what care needs. And we did find a place in Appleton for them, but I'm still curious, was that the best fit?
Right, right. And like you said, it's hard when you're working to find out all that information, and typically there is a timeline that is somewhat crunched in order to do all of this.
Right.
And so it does kind of put you into rapid learning mode.
Definitely. I mean, besides just learning about your community, you have to learn about long-term insurance, which luckily my parents had, but understand the different terminology that affects seniors, what kind of care needs, what is still your responsibility as a power of attorney. There's so many terms and understanding that is very overwhelming, just beside the transition itself.
So that all happened to you in life, and then you had another big event happen in life.
Yes, as a lot of us probably happened in the last few years with our recession, was I was let go after 17 years of a local company, and I knew it was coming, so it wasn't a shock, but it was still, what am I going to do? I'm only in my 50s.
Right.
I'm not ready to retire. I can't retire, but so what am I going to do? And it's really considered your second act. It's the time period between kind of, if you have finished another career and going to the time of retirement. A lot of people are going through that right now. And so I decided, what did I want to do?
Right.
And I did not really want to go back to corporate life. I didn't want to start off at the bottom. I wanted to do something that gave back to society and had a little more passion to it.
Sure. And so you and I had talked about how you explored possible franchises to tell me about that process a little bit, because that is very foreign, for me right now. Right.
What happened was I was with a employment group, and one of their webinars was franchises, and I thought, wow, working for yourself. I did own a business years ago with at a gift and gallery, so the idea of running my own business wasn't that frightening for me.
Sure.
But what to do? So I was connected up with a company called FranNet, and they're actually a franchise helping people look for franchises.
Okay.
There's quite a few names out there.
Sure.
There's Fran Ford, Fran Nat, there's different companies. And so I was working with kind of like my mentor, had to do a series of tests, questions to determine if it was a good feasible fit.
Sure.
Not everybody can do that.
Sure. Yes.
And they said, oh, here's some franchises we thought would be a good fit. And one of them was called Rembrandt's, Young Rembrandt's, which is an after-school program for art. Beautiful concept. I think art's an important part of aspect for kids, but it wasn't a good fit here in the Valley because we are so ingrained with the big Boys and Girls Club and the Y, which are excellent programs.
Correct.
So I thought, nope, keep looking.
Right.
So a few months later, he came back to me with Oasis Senior Advisors, and it literally hit me in the heart.
Right, because of all you had just been through with your parents, and you knew the process and knew how difficult it was to navigate all of that.
Right.
So Oasis is the franchise you chose to then become a part of.
Right. And so you have to do a lot of what's called due diligence. You have to go check the company out. You do a lot of different webinars with the company to make sure it's a good fit. You do what's called a day of discovery. So you go out to the corporate office, which in this case is Baltimore, Maryland, meet some of the staff.
Sure.
And they get to see you because it has to be a fit on both sides.
Yes.
So to see if you're going to be accepted, because they might say, no, you're not going to be a fit.
Right.
And you're putting investment in.
Sure.
And a lot of people say, well, why a franchise? Why not start on your own? One thing with a franchise, you've got the backing of a corporate, you've got their marketing, you've got their experience. So why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
Have somebody to support you.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that aspect of retirement, or not retirement, but like you said, the second act. What do? You're what you knew is now done, and yet you're too young to retire. What do you do? So that's a great option, exploring some franchise and the opportunities. Okay, so now let's talk about what you do now in your new role as a senior advisor.
Okay.
Right?
As a senior living advisor, one of the biggest things our franchise requires is that we become certified. So we're a certified senior advisor. And that is a national accreditation that professionals who work with seniors obtain. And it's just to get a broad knowledge of the health needs, financial and society needs that our seniors are experiencing. So that when we work with a client, we can then know the different types of resources. And I could be working with elder law lawyers, financial advisors, other home care agencies. So it's just to make a better understanding of the seniors. So it just gives us a better credibility.
Sure.
As a senior living advisor for Oasis Senior Advisors, what I do is help families through that transition period of finding the perfect senior living community.
So as a family, you realize mom or dad need some help. Where do we even begin? And that's where you come into play.
I come into play. And sometimes I'm referred by doctors, nursing homes, other agencies, and before they were just saying, oh, this community A is really good, but is it really good? Is it really a good fit for mom or dad? So that's what I do. I personally meet with the families, which makes us a little unique in other people in our industry. I meet with them, make them comfortable. I meet them at their home if they wish, because that helps me understand how they are.
Right.
Because home is them.
Right. Right. Exactly. What exactly is home, and what does that mean? That's one of the things that we talked about, especially when you're trying to transition from what typically was the family home to a different type of home.
Right.
So, the home kind of needs to reflect who they are as people.
Right.
And it's, home is where your memories are. And so when you're transitioning, you have to keep that in mind. Does it fit in with what was, and how can we make it now what will be the new normal?
You're definitely right on that. Yep.
Yeah, and home is where a person feels safe and comfortable.
Yep. And so if you have to transition, you want to just make sure that same elements that you're used to are there. I mean, there are beautiful communities in that area that are brand new and modern, but is it really a good fit for mom who's been living in a 1960 tract home for years? So that's what I try to do. So I meet with the family, determine their financial needs. The cost of assisted living is not cheap. Can run in the area anywhere from $2,200 to $2,200 a month up to $7,000. The average is about $3,450 in our valley.
Okay.
And so you have to determine, do they have the assets to be able to? Most communities like to have what's considered private pay.
Okay.
for a few years, just because they have to be able to maintain
Sure.
their business. And then they would go into what's called county funding, family care. So I go in to determine if they can, how much funding, private pay they can do.
Sure.
If they don't have it, then I will reserve over them to the ADRC.
Okay. So let's just go over some statistics though, because most people would love to just stay in their homes, right?
Yes.
And about 85% of seniors age 75 and older would like to remain in their current homes. How realistic is that?
And that's changing. And it's not because they're getting more ill or really unhealthy. It's because we're living longer.
Right.
When you figure the average age of a person in assisted living is 85, and I
Okay.
think in the last few years that's even gone up. I've gone to some nursing homes where the centenarians, there are 12 of them. So that people getting over 100 is very common. When I grew up, it was like, wow, that was
Right.
rare.
Right.
So the people are living older, and because of that, you know, your faculties change. You might have problems with vision or deafness
Sure.
or balance. So being home might not be as safe as it used to be, or
Right.
be able to maintain your home.
Right. And I think you shared a statistics after the age of 65, more than 70% of people over the age of 65 at one point are going to need some type of care.
Right.
Whether it's, you know, a temporary situation as they recover from a procedure, or like you said, vision changes or hearing changes, and so there has to be adaptations made. But 70% are
That's a
going to
lot
need some type of
different.
care.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's one thing too, where you're trying as my job is to let people my age be aware of what they may need down the road, as well as being able to help their families.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, as an adult with a parent, you know, what are some things that you look at in terms of, is it time to maybe move mom and dad, or have that discussion?
Okay.
What,
You know, you look at their care needs. You know, is it just medication management? Is it they need to have help getting up out of bed, going to the bathroom, showering, dressing, depending on what's called the activities of daily living. How many of those do they need help on? And then, of course, where they want to be geographically. Now,
Right.
as a certified senior advisor, we ethically want to keep a family at home. That's
Right.
the best prospect.
Right.
So a lot of times when I meet a family, I'll ask them, have they looked at home care? And if they said yes, but we just feel that feel better, mom being in assisted living or dad being in assisted living, because it would be just for our self-worth, you know.
right, right.
We'll
For
feel
their
better.
peace of mind,
Right.
exactly.
But if they say, no, we haven't, I have talked with a lot of the home care companies in the Valley and may give them a few options to call and see if that's a choice for them. Because sometimes it just might be medication
Right.
management.
Right.
But for some people, they have no choice. They have to go to an assisted living.
Right. And it's, you know, we talk about this often about knowing options and how important that is, and to know those options kind of before you actually really need them. Because when you're in that crisis mode, it is much more difficult to make good decisions, and it feels like your options are so much more narrow. So, you know, if you have aging parents, perhaps it is a good opportunity before you need it to know what your options are and to investigate before the crisis arrives, to
Right.
be proactive and, you know, like you said, consider home services, ask for help from family or friends or your church if you're starting to see a decline. But then when it is time to really make the move to an assisted living or to some type of other living situation, that's where you come in with all kinds of resources and all kinds of information.
Correct.
And tell us again about the fee structure for the family and how that all works.
Okay, this is a free service for the families. I do not charge them anything for the time I'm with them. I get paid on a referral basis
Okay.
on the community they may be moving into. So it's
Okay.
an agreement I have with the community, and it's a fee that is for our company's national. So it's no different fee for every area of the country. It's the same. So as I said, I might work with you, a family, for a week, or I might be for a few months. Doesn't matter.
And like you know, the key points that I like about what you do is, you meet with the family in their homes and you bring all the information to them. You kind of like lay it out, right? This is this situation, this is this place, this is this place, this is this place.
Right.
And then the next step is to look at some of the finances, because that's a reality of the whole
Right.
situation.
Oh, yes, and that's so mind-boggling to everybody. Like, oh my gosh, how are we going to afford this?
Right, right. And I know you had shared that you not only go through, okay, so the immediate need financially, but let's look this out just a little bit.
Right. Let's look out the long run. Okay, when someone comes in me, we know most have Social Security. Okay, what's your Social Security? Was there a veteran in the family, either the spouse or them, and they can get a VA benefit?
Okay.
Okay, aid and assistance. Do they have assets? What kind of, programs do they have? Do they have a house that they can sell? There's
Right.
reverse mortgages. There's so many options that people don't really think of.
Right.
Okay, and one thing nice about me understanding the different communities in the area, I know which ones will say, okay, looking at your finances, your mom or dad are good for at least a year. Then I know places that will take private funding for a year and then help them convert over to public
Okay.
funding. So I go anywhere from right away, they'll do it, to 6 months, to 1 year to 2 years. So then I kind of that helps me to determine
Right.
what community would be a best fit.
Right. And you also forecast out, okay, we know that this situation is going to be progressive.
Right.
And the healthcare needs are going to increase. So you may be able to start out in place X, and then, can you transition then to Y and Z, and financially, this is how it's
Right.
all going to lay out for you.
And one thing too about knowing what the services are at each of the communities and what their pay structure is, a lot of them have different tiers depending on how many types of activities of daily living
Sure.
they have to provide for you, increases the cost. Some
Sure.
places have one fee fits all, doesn't
Right.
matter. So it's
Right.
kind of understanding that. But I want to make sure that they don't have to go from community X to Y to Z,
Right.
that they actually can
Right.
stay in one community.
I guess that was
Yeah.
what I was trying to say, is that within this community, these different services are available or whatever, forecasting out.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a family is interested in getting in touch with you, how do they do that? How do they find you?
They can call me. My number is 920-716-9406.
Okay.
They can email me. It's lmagnuson, LMAGNUSON, at youroasisadvisor.com. Or they can go online and just go Oasis Senior Advisors. They'll get our webpage and enter your zip code.
Okay.
So it's 3 different options.
Excellent. So phone you, email you, look on the website, and track you down that way. And there's no obligation to meet with you.
Nope.
So I want to know what's all available to me. One thing that you had shared when we were talking privately was that you follow the family all the way through the process. So you will make arrangements to have the family tour different options. And then you go with them on the tour.
Yeah, if they wish me to go on the tour with them, I'll go. And I do that for 2 reasons. One, to be a support, but also to watch their reaction to the community.
Right.
It's like a realtor, okay, they don't like this, this, and this, and this. So kind of lets me go back in my mind what communities would really be a good fit. And also where geographically, okay, I want to be staying in the National area, I want to stay in South Oshkosh,
Sure.
So knowing the valley
Right.
helps. So by going on the tour, I understand where they want to be.
Right, and you also work as a liaison then too between the living environment and the family, and also you said even like within families when there could be disagreements, you're a great buffer to help
and just
negotiate all of those things that are
you're gonna
so
get
difficult.
so much family discord,
Yes.
especially when you're working with money.
Yes,
That's very
exactly.
touchy
And mom
part.
and dad and-
right, and just say, sit there and go, okay. I'm here to help your mom and dad. They're my primary
Right.
goal.
Right.
Let's what we can do to make it easier for
Right.
them. And that's my passion, is to help that senior, because I really feel they should be respected and honored
Yes.
for what they've done to this society, what they've done for their family, and we should make that transition easier.
Right.
You know.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about what you do.
And I really
and
thank you so much. It just gives
Yes.
me an honor to be able to be here today. Thank you.
And what a relief for families to have somebody who will do all that legwork in the background and all that data collecting and all that other stuff while you're still trying to carry on your life. No matter what, this is going to have a huge impact on lives. But at least you have the resources that you can lay out for them.
Right.
And
it shouldn't be a
give
stress.
them some information.
It shouldn't be.
Yep.
It's still going to be a stress to move. I'm just
Right.
trying to
Yes.
make that stress a little less
Right.
burdensome.
Yes. Why don't you give us your phone number one more time, Lisa, so if they want to get in touch with you,
Yep.
how do
how to do it, 920-716-9406. If you do get my voicemail, I'll guarantee to call you back that end of that day. So,
Excellent.
Yep.
Again, Lisa, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and what a great service that you offer for families.
Thank you, Jane.
And
I
for
really
seniors.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
All right, after we're going to take a real short break, and then we are going to have tips from Tony back. So hang tight for some of those fitness tips and for upcoming events at the Oshkosh Senior Center. See you in just a minute. And it's time for Tips from Tony. I have Tony Framke with me here, UWO intern at the Senior Center, and he's going to share a little bit about posture because it's really important in our world, isn't it, Tony?
Yes, it is. And hello, everybody. Great to be back. Today I'm talking about posture. I'm going to touch on a few things. We're going to do a posture assessment.
I get to be the guinea pig.
Yes, she's my guinea pig today. It's going to be fun. So with posture, it's a big thing, just maintaining proper posture. A lot of the things we do throughout our day are not the healthiest things for our spine, for the bones, all of that. A lot of sitting. I know typically we sit a lot. That's just in general. There is an exception. And that posture is not the best. There's two typical distortions that we see in a person's posture, and that is the lower cross syndrome and the upper cross syndrome.
Sounds like a boxing match.
Yeah, throwing punches. The lower cross syndrome is typically tight muscles in the calf and the hip, and then the weak muscles or the longer muscles are normally seen in the glutes, which is the backside right here. So it's typically seen there. Weak knees, and we'll go into the upper cross syndrome. That is typically what you see a lot, tight chest, so I'm going to be coming forward, my neck will be forward, things like that. And that's one you see a lot in the older adult population, the senior population, as well as you see it now in our youth too, just because
with the video gaming
games,
and things like that.
the big influence on the cell phone, looking down, and that's not good.
All right, so let's do this little assessment here and see what we've got.
All right, so what we're going to do, a typical posture assessment is normally done with a front view, a lateral view, and then a posterior view. For the sake of time, we're just going to do the view from the side.
Okay.
So I'm going to be looking for 5 specific categories. I'm going to be looking at her ankle and her foot, and then I'm going to go to her knee, her hips, her shoulder, and then her head. So I'll start out. I'm going to borrow your pen here.
So it's really hard not to okay, what should be the right
Right.
one? I'm just going to try to be natural so that I get a really accurate assessment.
Exactly. So what I'm going to start off first is looking at her foot and her ankle. I'm going to make a quick mark from what I see. Typically what you look for is that you want the leg in neutral position, her ankle and her foot in neutral, her legs vertical, and there's a right angle in between the ankle and the foot. And typically this is done, without shoes.
No heel.
And then the pants will be up over the knee so I could see it. We're not going to do that today. So from what I can tell right now, everything is good there. With the knees, we're going to go up next to the knees. Again, I'm going to make a mark here from what I see. It looks like we are good. From what you want to see in the knees, again, the leg is in neutral, the leg's nice and straight, knees in neutral position, and you don't want the knees flexed forward or flexed
back.
Extended back, excuse me. Our next part of the assessment will go to the hips. And if you want to point out where your hip bones are, that'll be awesome. So I can see there. All right, making my mark. With the hips, you want to make sure the hips in neutral position. We don't want to see the hips back, the butt back, or the hips too far extended up here. Looks like everything's good. So we'll go to the shoulders.
It's probably the weak area.
That's one where it's common. There's a little weakness there. You want to make sure there's normal curve in the back. It looks like that's good. There's a little bit of a rounding in the shoulders, and that's something you don't want to see. Typically, the shoulders will be, a perfect one would be back a little bit, just like that, yes. So I'll make a mark there, and then we go to the head. If you want to come over here. The head, typically you want to see nice chin up, parallel with the floor. There's not an extensive jut of the chin, the neck coming forward at all. And she's good. She has really good posture in her neck. So that would be the assessment on the side. She scored very well except for the shoulders. And that's what, when you're looking at an assessment, that's something the assessor will see, and then we can correct that.
Right. You give me exercises or things to do to become more aware of it.
Just because you have bad posture doesn't mean we can correct it. So, there's things
you can't correct it.
Yes,
Right.
we can correct it. Yes.
Okay, so if somebody would like to learn more about a posture assessment, or who would they contact, or what should they do?
All right, so if you attend the Senior Center, if you want to come to the Senior Center, feel free to stop in. Amanda, she's a fitness coordinator there, and I'm her intern. We'll help you out with that. Or, if you go to your own gym, or if you feel comfortable asking your medical provider, care provider, things like that, they can do them. Personal trainers, I know at gyms, can provide posture assessments. So it's really up to the places you feel comfortable with.
Awesome. And we talked how this could actually be a full show. So maybe now I'll get some posture adjustment corrections and do them, and then I'll get reassessed on a different show, and we'll see an improvement.
Yeah, we can do that.
All
definitely,
right. Well, thanks for coming on, Tony, and Tips from Tony is awesome. Glad to have you a part of us, and we'll follow up on this a little bit more. But
awesome.
Thanks for visiting us.
Thank you.
All right, so now Tony's going to share some of the things we have coming up, and so am I.
All right, this Thursday, April 16th, we have our Parkinson's Wellness Coalition. What that is just a support group. It starts at 2 p.m., and we'll be talking about physical wellness and social wellness. This group is open to caregivers, family members, and people with Parkinson's disease. If you're going to attend, please pre-register by April 14th.
All right, and if it's a Saturday night, particularly Saturday, April 26th, and you don't know what to do with yourself, come on down to the Oshkosh Senior Center for Coffee House Music Evening, 6 o'clock till 7:30 p.m. We transform the Senior Center. It doesn't look like it typically does during the day. It looks pretty nice, and we have live music by Bob Sonia and Bobby Wordle, and we will pass a hat for donations, but come on down for some coffee and some great music. It's a fun night and a great chance to see the Senior Center in a different way.
Next up, we have the Oshkosh Senior Center Health Fair. That'll be held on Wednesday, May 6th, and that runs from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. At the health fair, we will have health and wellness booths from multiple different companies, screenings, and more. This fair is free and open to the public of all ages. Come on down.
All right. And last but not least, get this on your calendar. It again is our Night on the River, which we take advantage of the extended daylight. So June 19th, 2015, the third annual Night on the River. S'mores, campfire, live music, yard games, walks along the river, and much more. The community is welcome to come. It's open to all ages. It's a blast, so come on down. Again, June 19th, we're running that this year. Mark that on your calendars. Well, thank you for watching Senior Savvy, and contact the Senior Center if you want to be a part of something, or check us out on our website. And thank you, and we'll see you next time.